Your relationship with money could be rocky, but count your blessings you aren't this guy. His name is Kevin, and Kevin is in his early 30s when this whole disaster kicks off, and he's living out in California. And on paper, Kevin looks totally fine. He's got a decent job working in accounting for a heavy equipment company. He's got a salary, he's got responsibilities, he's got coworkers who trust him. What he also has, unfortunately, is a very serious addiction to a mobile game called Game of War. And if you've never heard of Game of War, it's one of those free to download apps where you build up a city and train troops and fight other players online. Sounds harmless, right? Except the whole point of the game is to get you to spend real money to speed everything up, and people spend a lot of real money on it, like a genuinely embarrassing amount. So Kevin starts playing, and at first it's probably just a few bucks here and there, totally normal. But eventually he gets deeper into it, and he wants to build faster, upgrade faster, dominate other players faster. And to do that, you've got to spend a lot. And at some point, Kevin runs out of his own money to throw at this thing. Now, a normal person would just stop playing, maybe delete the app, maybe seek help. Kevin does not do any of that. What Kevin does instead is start dipping into his employer's bank accounts. And because he works in accounting, he actually has the access and the knowledge to make this happen. So he starts falsifying company expenses, routing money to himself, and covering his tracks. Boom. Just like that, Kevin is now a criminal. The thing about white collar crime is that when it works, it really works, at least for a while. And Kevin gets away with this for a shockingly long time. We're talking roughly 6 years. 6 years of stealing from the company, 6 years of nobody catching on, 6 years of Kevin apparently sitting at his desk approving fake invoices and then going home and spending that money on in game currency for a mobile app. By the time it all comes out, he has taken nearly $5 million dollars from his employer. Nearly $5 million. dollars. And yes, a significant chunk of that went directly into Game of War. About $1 million just gone into a free to play mobile game. The rest of it he spent on things like plastic surgery, luxury cars, and sports tickets. So at least he diversified. Now, when you're stealing millions from your job and funneling it into a phone game, eventually someone is going to notice the books don't add up. And that's exactly what happened. The company figures out that something is seriously wrong with their finances. They bring in investigators, and those investigators start tracing the money. And one by one, all of Kevin's fake transactions start getting flagged. The whole scheme starts unraveling pretty fast once people are actually looking. And eventually, federal investigators get involved, and Kevin gets charged with wire fraud and money laundering. He ends up pleading guilty. Whoa. Like, he didn't even try to fight it. He just said, yeah, I did it, I'm done. And look, at this point, you might be wondering how someone justifies this to themselves. Like, what is going through your head when you're transferring company money into your personal account for the sixth year in a row so you can buy virtual troops on your phone? Not sure how that internal monologue goes exactly, but clearly the game had Kevin completely hooked because the developers behind these freemium apps are very good at what they do. Game of War in particular spent millions on advertising, like celebrity level advertising. Kate Upton was literally in their commercials, and the game mechanics are specifically designed to make you feel like you're always just one purchase away from being unstoppable. It's predatory by design, and Kevin walks straight into it. Now, what makes this case kind of wild is the sheer scale of it. We're not talking about someone who grabbed a few $100 from the petty cash drawer. This guy ran a calculated, sustained financial fraud for half a decade and managed to steal close to $5 million dollars before anyone stopped him. And part of that is on his employer for not having tighter oversight on their accounting department. Because if one person has that much unchecked access to company funds for that long, that's a problem on both ends. Regardless, when the feds finally got involved and Kevin sat down and admitted to everything, the number was staggering. He was looking at potentially up to 20 years in prison for what he'd done. And it's worth pointing out what the victims in this situation actually lost. His employer didn't just lose a pile of abstract money. They lost real resources, real operating funds that were supposed to go toward running an actual business. And meanwhile, Kevin is sitting at home playing a mobile game that doesn't even have a story mode. Like there's no grand narrative he's pursuing here. He's just tapping a screen over and over to make numbers go up. In the company he stole from, they had no idea any of this was happening until the damage was already done. By the time investigators were done counting everything up, the total loss was somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $5 million, which is a number that puts Kevin in a very specific and very unfortunate category of people. And so Kevin eventually goes through the legal process, pleads guilty to the wire fraud and money laundering charges, and faces federal sentencing. The game that started all of this, Game of War, continued raking in money from players around the world. It was ranked the number 2 top grossing app of 2016, which means Kevin was far from the only person sinking serious cash into it. He was just the one who decided to make that someone else's problem.